All right, so student loans 101. From the FAFSA, okay, they're loans from the federal government. If you take out a federal loan, they usually have a fixed interest rate, okay? That means that the interest will always stay the same. That's pretty good, right? Variable interest means that the interest rate can go up or down at any time. That can make things a little bit hard for you because you don't really know the amount you pay each month it might be different because the interest rate can fluctuate over time. Fixed interest rate means whatever the interest rate was when you got your loan will be what it will be for the rest of the time of the loan. Okay, so most federal loans that you take out are fixed interest. There are, we'll say, 3 different types of federal loans that you can take out that will be relevant to you. The first one is subsidized. When you hear subsidized, think super, okay? Subsidized, super. I want you to say that 3 times. I'm being serious, go. You gotta say it. I'll wait. Okay, there we go. The good thing about this loan, okay, it's a good thing. Subsidized are the better type of loans if you're gonna take one out from the government. So subsidized means the interest will not gain on them until 6 months after you graduate, right, or you unenroll out of college. You've taken out your loan, and while you're in college, and 6 months after you graduate, or after you unenroll, then the interest will start to accrue. Okay, you don't have to worry about the interest until 6 months after. So the government is going to pay the interest for you while you're in school. All right, so that's not something that you will have to worry about. You can pay them back while you're in school, but the payments, like I said, won't start until 6 months after you graduate or unenroll. Unsubsidized. I want you to think unsuper. Subsidized, super, unsubsidized, unsuper. Okay, once again, you gotta say it 3 times. Unsubsidized, unsuper. Good, okay. This is still okay if you absolutely need it, but be aware that as soon as you take out an unsubsidized federal loan, the interest will start right away, okay? So what that may look like is you're going about trying to balance all your classes in college, trying to join these clubs, trying to adjust to being away from your family for the first time, and you gotta make those interest payments. And keep this in mind, when you're paying the interest doesn't pay off the actual, we'll call, the principal of the loan. So if you took out $5,000 in loans and you were paying, let's just say, $50 in interest a month, that interest is just the interest. It doesn't count towards the $5,000 that you borrowed. You'd have to pay $50 plus, right, an additional $100. So say you're paying $150, $50 of that would go towards interest, and $100 of that would go towards the $5,000 you borrowed. So that just means while you're in school, you are just trying to keep afloat by paying the interest off as it's accruing every month. Okay, that is not an ideal situation to be in. So once again, if you have to, an unsubsidized loan is an option to make college a reality for you. But if you have an option not to, try not to. You don't have to make the actual payments for the amount that you borrowed until, after you graduate, but you will have to pay the interest. The last type of loan is called a Parent Plus loan. So sometimes it's offered to help, cover that gap that you might have, but be aware that the Parent Plus loan of the federal loans that we're talking about has the highest interest rate on average. They're taken in your parent's name, okay, so your parent has to fill it out. You have to start paying them back much sooner than other loans, okay? So these loans require an in-depth conversation with your family so that they know, right, what they're getting into and what they're paying to make things work out. Okay, so like I said, a Parent Plus loan is taken out in your parent's name. They can take out a loan to help you with college. It has a higher interest rate, and just to be aware, if, God forbid, anything ever happened to you as a student, okay, if a tragic accident happened and you were to pass away, your parents would still have to be responsible for that loan. because it's in their name. Okay? So, I know, a little somber, but just keep that in mind. I just want you guys to be aware. Whew. So those are federal loans. Okay? What are the three again? Right. Okay? Subsidized, super. Unsubsidized, unsuper. And Parent Plus loan. Okay? In addition to that, there are private loans. Banks and sometimes schools will offer different private loan options. Typically, they have a higher interest rate, sometimes a much higher interest rate than the subsidized and unsubsidized loans we just talked about. And they can be fixed or variable interest rate. Remember we talked about that? So fixed interest rate meaning it doesn't change, variable meaning it changes over time. So let's talk a little bit about how interest works. All right, if you're bored at this point, that's okay, but this is pretty important. So, student loan interest is often compounded daily. Okay, what that looks like, let's set an example. Okay, we have Tony the Tiger. Tony takes a $10,000 private loan that he will pay over the next 10 years after he graduates. Okay? And his annual interest rate is 7%. So his monthly payment is going to be about $116 a month. How we can calculate, right, how this compound interest works. So we'll divide the annual student loan interest rate by how many days there are in a year. Okay? And it's going to look like this. Okay, we have our 0.07, right, our 7% interest rate in a decimal form, divided by 365 because there are 365 days in a year, and that's what we get. So then what we're going to do is multiply the outstanding loan balance, okay, by that daily interest rate. So we have $10,000 because that's how much Tony took out in loans, times that number that we just got, the 0.00019. And that gives us $1.90. So that means every single day, the interest is increasing by $1.90. Camera stopped recording. So that's our daily interest rate amount, okay? $1.90. And then what we're gonna do is multiply that daily interest amount by the number of days since your last payment. So right, typically you pay once a month or every 30 days. So $1.90, which is our daily interest rate, and we'll multiply that by 30, right? Because that's the number of days since your last payment. And that gives us $57. Okay, so that's how the interest is calculated. So what that means, with Tony's $116 monthly payment, okay, assuming that there's no fees, that means $57 of that will go towards interest, and $59 would go towards the principal, okay? Principal means the original loan amount. Remember, Tony's original loan amount is $10,000. So to reiterate, of his $116 payment, only $59 is going towards that $10,000. The $57 you're paying in interest, that goes to the loan servicer. That does not go towards the money you're paying back. Okay, so he's really only paying $59 a month toward the money that he's trying to pay back. $57 goes towards Uncle Sam or whoever it is. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right. Ooh, talking about student loans making me thirsty. This is a lot. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's totally okay. There's a reason why this stuff is kind of boring and confusing and overwhelming. Because a lot of students, when they take out loans, don't exactly know what they're getting themselves into. Loans can be helpful if you do it the right way, whatever that means for you. The right way just means that you were informed when you take out loans.